Hey guys, before this video starts, I wanted to say, I'm sorry for the jump cuts and everything. I have ADHD and I just get distracted, and I want to cut out the parts where I'm distracted so that I don't bore you guys. This video is already boring enough. Thank you guys for watching.
Hello, you guys. So, I have decided I am going to show my face on this channel. I'm going to try to do it as less as possible because of the fact of I want it to be more about the animals instead of me, if you understand what I'm saying. But today, as promised, I'm doing a leopard gecko care sheet. Let's go. Also, I'm gonna go over this. Okay, getting to know your leopard gecko. PetSmart care guides. Experience level beginner. I would say this is alright beginner pet. They can grow up to 10 inches males. She is about 8 inches. And she's not going to grow any larger. So they can be from 8 to... Well, it depends. Super giants can get up to 12 inches. So they can be up to a foot. And regular leopard geckos can get up to 8 to 10 inches. Well, 8 to like, I wouldn't say 10, I would say maybe 8, 9 inches. But they, on average, they normally, with the right care, they can live up to 20 to 25 years, maybe a little bit longer, with like perfect care. I'm not really sure where they originate from, so I'm just not going to go from that. Okay, here's the setup. This is what they say to do. So here's the setup. And let's just read everything they say. You need a terrarium, a screen lid, a UV light and bulb. You need a heat lamp and bulb, a thermometer, a basking site beneath heat lamp, calcium sand, food dish, water dish, big enough for pet to soak in, plants and decor, and hide house. Okay, you're not going to need the UVB light. You're not going to need a heat lamp or bulb. You are not going to need a basking spot lamp type thing. And you're definitely not going to need calcium sand. I will show you the correct setup in a second, but that's what they say how to set it up. They say for the day temperature on the cool side, it's basically room temperature, which is correct. They say the day temperature for the warm side would be 85 to 95, which is that's all right. The night temperature is just really, the night temperature it doesn't really matter. Just leave it at the warm and cool side. Leave it at 75 to 85 degrees on the cold side, and then 85 to 95 degrees on the warm side. Perfectly fine. Don't worry about nighttime temperature. Humidity, as long as the humidity doesn't reach too high of levels, you should be perfectly fine. None of this is... I'm not going to read the rest, but, like, it's just not correct. That setup is not correct, and that's what we're going over today. So, setup. What you're going to want is, you're going to want your substrate. I personally use Eco Earth because I hadn't really had a problem with it, and I researched leopard geckos for 2 years before I got my first one, which is this guy over here, Oreo. And I hadn't heard many problems of it, so I tried it out myself. I have been keeping for a year and a half now. Have not had a problem with it. Also, this guy does have a respiratory infection right now. That's why, if you see him breathing weird, that's why. But the reason he has a respiratory infection is because of the different temperatures. Because we used to be at like 100 degrees, and now we're at like 30 degrees. Friday it's going to be 30 degrees where I live. You don't have to have a background, but I have found that if you have rocks or something for them to climb on, it's good because they love to climb. They're from like the rocky outcrop areas, so they will like. I've seen him climb this entire background, walk around it, get in this plant pot up here that I still hadn't planted anything in, just sit in it. He will find this little hide and attempt to go into it, even though he's too big now. He'll climb this piece of wood in the background, and I will see him sitting up here a lot. He loves to get up high and sit. This is one of his favorite places in the tank. Now what you're going to need is more of a horizontal cage, because these are not arboreal animals. They are terrestrial animals. And what you're going to want in the tank is you're going to want a warm side hide, which I'm going to go ahead and move up here to show you guys something. He's in there currently, so. He's like, hey, this isn't right. But back from here, you're going to want to go down, and with the Eco Earth, it gets stuck to the. He's trying to get out of there so bad. With the Eco Earth, it sticks to the tape, so before you even put any Eco Earth down, before you put any Eco Earth down, I would suggest getting tape, putting it down, and like getting one piece of tape, leaving it up, and then taping it down on the two sides like I did, so you can put you're going to want to have a thermostat. Currently I use the 100 watt Exoterra, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's the 100 watt Exoterra thermostat. I will have a link to that down below. I'll have a link to all of this stuff down below. And then I use this ZoomEd thermometer. I always get the two mixed up. Thermometer with a probe to go in here, and you just slide that under. It's very easy. It's a very easy process. Make sure that's laying down. Cover it with a little Eco Earth so it gets patted down and stays down and doesn't like lift up. And then you're going to want to put his warm hide over that. You're going to want to put the warm hide over that. No, this light is not normally on. It's on for filming. This is Oreo. I'm going to let him go back in there. You're going to want to put a hide over that. I love this hide, and he loves it too. I have had almost no complaints with this hide at all. He loves this hide with a passion. He would rather sit over here all day than over here all day. So you're going to want a warm hide for them to feel safe while they're getting their heat, because these are crepuscular animals and they are out during the night and the evening times, so they are going to get that last little bit of heat from the sun, and so they're not going to get the heat from the actual sun. They're going to get the heat from the ground that has the heat that has absorbed into the ground from the sun, from the day's heat. They're going to sit down on that and bask on that and sleep on that. They normally sleep under rocks during the day, and then they come out, find the place where they're going to sit and get the heat, watch for predators, get that heat, and then in the morning, go right back in and just sleep. They have to have a warm hide and a cold hide. And then a lot of people use something called a moist hide. I do use this, but I use a for a moist hide, really all you have to do is grab a like a old sandwich meat box. Grab that, cut a hole in the top, put paper towel down or eco earth or something, and mist it down maybe once every day or once every like week maybe. Make sure it's still moist and put that in your tank. And you do not want a light. There is a pad under here, a heating pad, so that's where they get their heat from. You do not want a light. This is an LED light, so I turn this on during the day for their daylight cycle, because I don't want them to get mixed up and be awake in the day and asleep at night and so on and so forth, because they are crepuscular animals. I don't want to mix their natural instincts up, so I give them a daylight and a nightlight cycle. Like, even over there with my other 2 leopard geckos, I have those lights on over there which shine into both of those tanks. The chameleon lights shine into both of those tanks. See, he loves to climb the background. You doing, fat girl? Getting up there. Oh, you're falling. You're falling. But they love that background. That's optional. That cost me about $40 or $50 to make. Some great stuff, spray foam. Maybe cut a branch off of a tree outside and cook it, of course, to get all the pesticides and stuff off. All the pests off. And put it in the background. This is just a little rock thing I thought was cool, so I bought. And then this was a little planter from, I think it was like Home Depot or something, that I thought was cool, so I got it and put in there, because I wanted to get a succulent and put in there, but I misjudged the way this was going to look, and now I can't put anything in there, because I was thinking that was going to be down here popping out, but no, it did not work. Now, since we have the warm side covered, we're going to move on to the cold side. That's just the middle side. Of course, you're going to have your water bowl. I feed crickets, so I don't have a food mealworm dish. I mean, to each their own. I don't personally believe in feeding mealworms as a staple diet. I believe they have too much keratin in their exoskeleton, and it's hard for these guys to absorb it and digest it. So I say maybe once every week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, would I give mealworms as a meal. I mean, that's just like a treat type thing for me. But I feed crickets, which aren't the most nutritional, but they work. I have been working with leopard geckos for 1.5 years now. Never had a problem, and I don't see much of a problem with it. I do occasionally feed dubia roaches, and I do occasionally feed mealworms, superworms, and hornworms. So they do have a variety. Variety is key to a leopard gecko's health, because they're going to get bored, and then they're going to go off of food, and then they will become anorexic and and just starve themselves to death. So variety is key. And then let's move over to the cold side. You're not going to have a heat pad or anything over here. You're going to want to make sure it's dark at all times, and it's basically like a prison cell. Dark and cold. Don't just make sure the heat pad is at least halfway. Well, it doesn't have to be halfway, but at least covers 3/4 of your tank so that they can get the heat. Mine covers from like here to there and then back. That's how much mine covers. And it works perfectly fine. But cold side hide, this cork bark was like $11, I do believe. So I got this from a expo, and I put it in there. He enjoyed it, he liked it, so I left it in there. And that's his cold side hide. Basically leave this like a prison cell. The cold side is just basically a prison cell, but like they can get out and go from here to here. So that's what's called a temperature gradient. A temperature gradient is important because if it gets too hot over here and they overheat, they're not going to want to sit in the heat all day. They're going to want to go into like a rocky outcrop type thing and go sit in the cold and get away from that heat. So a temperature gradient is the most important thing in leopard gecko care. You're not going to want to have a heat light because you're not going to have a temperature gradient. A deep heat projector I have not personally used, so I'm not going to talk about, but I've heard they're good in like wooden tanks. I would not use it for a glass tank because of how narrow a glass tank is. So I would not use a deep heat projector in a glass tank. A wooden tank maybe, but if you're using a glass like aquarium, just put it down somewhere, put a heat pad at the bottom, get 2 hides, one for the cold side, one for the warm side, get a thermometer and a thermostat, and put it on the heat pad, and put a hide over that so it will heat up. And then you're going to want to just have a cold side, which is basically nothing, just a little bit of a hide. And then when they're shedding, you're going to want to pop that little box in with the moist paper towels or whatever so they can get in it, and have a water bowl and a calcium bowl. Calcium is important, so do not skip out on it. You have to have supplements. Supplements are some of the best things in the reptile world, because if you don't have supplements, you will end up with a gecko with MBD. I rescued a gecko with MBD, and she is paralyzed from her waist down. And let me go grab her real quick. This is Ruby. I am currently looking for a wheelchair service to make for lizards, but like I can't find one currently, so I am trying to think about a design. And while I'm doing that, she got a little bit of her cut, and I didn't think anything of it. I just put a little bit of triple antibiotic ointment without painkillers in it on her leg, and it started healing. And every time she sheds, it pops back off.
What I meant by it pops back off is when it sheds, the scab comes back off, and it takes more skin with it, so I have to specifically help her shed. That's what I mean by that, if you don't understand what I mean.
But currently it's being perfectly fine, and she's perfectly healthy at the moment. She is a whopping like 33 grams. She sometimes doesn't want to eat, so I don't force feed her. She has a fat tail, and she is at a comfortable weight for me to deal with. I know she's underweight, but she's at a comfortable weight for her, and I'm not going to force feed her to eat. I wouldn't want somebody shoving food down my throat if I didn't want it. If I still ate, like, she eats every other day. She'll eat every other day, or like every 3 days or something. She won't miss out. She won't miss out more than 3 days. and she is a good eater, but she just stays on the skinny side, so she's perfectly fine. Besides her legs, and she has this little mass on her leg, like a fat pocket. But besides that, she is healing, and she will be back good soon. But this is Ruby. I'm not aware of her morph, but she is beautiful. Now that is why calcium is one of the most important things you can have in a gecko tank, because they have to have it. Otherwise they will end up like Ruby and be hurt. And you don't want a hurt gecko, you don't want a sick animal. So you're gonna wanna have calcium in there. And that's basically the care guide, but I am going to like post some pictures of the lizards now. So if you did enjoy this video, leave a like down below, subscribe to Exotic Cove, and have a nice day.